Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome aboard for a deep dive into Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island.
Ah, classic.
We'll be setting sail with excerpts from a Project Gutenberg ebook to explore a world of pirates, adventure, and of course, buried treasure.
Sounds like a grand adventure.
Absolutely. And to really get into the spirit of things, we'll start our journey at the Admiral Benbow Inn.
A fitting place to begin.
Right. It's where we first encounter Billy Bones, that rough-looking sea captain with a mysterious sea chest.
Oh, he makes quite an entrance, doesn't he?
Definitely. He throws down some gold, demands rum, and orders bacon and eggs.
All while sporting those patched clothes and that fierce demeanor.
Yeah, you can tell right away that this guy's got a story.
And likely a dark one.
Exactly. And poor young Jim Hawkins, our narrator, is absolutely terrified of him.
Especially when Billy Bones starts belting out that song about 15 men on the dead man's chest.
Chilling, isn't it? It's more than just a pirate ballad.
It's a glimpse into the violence and death that surrounds this world, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, like a warning of what's to come.
Foreshadowing, perhaps.
Oh, for sure. And then things get even more intense with the arrival of Black Dog, missing those two fingers, and then Pew, the blind beggar.
It's like the Admiral Benbow is becoming a magnet for trouble.
Right. It all feels very ominous, like something big is about to happen.
Well, it does culminate with Billy Bones' death, doesn't it?
It does, and he leaves behind that mysterious oilskin packet containing Captain Flint's logbook, and of course the map to his buried treasure.
Yeah, the treasure map.
The map itself is so detailed, with latitude and longitude soundings, and that inscription, bulk of treasure here.
It's like holding the key to untold riches.
It really is. And Squire Trelawney, eager for adventure, immediately starts outfitting a ship, the Hispaniola.
He doesn't waste any time, does he?
Not at all. He even brings on Captain Smollett, a much more seasoned sailor.
Ah, yes, Smollett. He seems to be the voice of reason in all of this, doesn't he?
Right. Unlike the Squire, he seems to understand the real dangers involved in this treasure hunt.
A wise addition to the crew, to be sure.
Definitely. And then we have Long John Silver, the one-legged ship's cook, who seems so friendly at first.
Ah, Long John Silver, a memorable character.
But then Jim overhears Silver talking to some of the other crew members. He's plotting a mutiny.
That apple barrel scene classic.
Talk about a betrayal. It really highlights the theme of deception in the story.
And the danger lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly. And that sense of unease just grows when they finally arrive at Treasure Island.
A place that more than lives up to its name.
It really does. You can just feel the tension as the landing party sets foot on the island.
And the growing mistrust between Captain Smollett and the Squire.
It's like they're stepping into a whole new world, one where the rules of civilization no longer apply.
A world where anything can happen.
Exactly. And Jim, sensing the danger, decides to make a daring escape.
Ah, yes, his escape ashore.
He takes a small boat and ends up alone on this seemingly deserted island.
A bold move for such a young boy.
It really is, but it shows his growing independence and his willingness to take risks.
And of course, it leads him to a rather unexpected encounter.
It does. He meets Ben Gunn, a marooned pirate who's been living on the island for 3 years.
Ben Gunn, another fascinating character.
Right. He adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the story with his knowledge of the island and his eccentricities.
But before we get to hear more from Ben Gunn, we witness a brutal act of violence.
That moment when Long John Silver kills Tom, one of his own men.
A chilling display of ruthlessness.
It really shows the depths of Silver's ambition and the true nature of the conflict.
It's no longer just about treasure as it is about survival.
And that's where we'll leave things for now, with Jim alone on the island, the mutiny in full swing, and the treasure still up for grabs. We'll be back soon with more of our deep dive into Treasure Island. Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome back to our deep dive into Treasure Island.
I trust you left us in suspense.
Oh, absolutely. When we left off, Long John Silver's mutiny was in full swing.
And young Jim had made a rather daring escape ashore.
He had, but now we're shifting perspectives to hear what happened on the Hispaniola from the doctor's point of view.
Ah, yes. The doctor, he always brings a sense of calm amidst chaos.
He does, and he doesn't disappoint here. He gives a first-hand account of how he, the squire, and a few loyal men managed to escape the ship.
It's a pretty thrilling escape, wouldn't you say?
No, definitely. They find themselves stranded on the island, but they're quick to set up a fortified position, the stockade.
The stockade becomes a sort of symbol of civilization, doesn't it? In the midst of this untamed wilderness.
It does, like a last bastion of order against the chaos of the mutiny.
And of course, the mutineers don't just let them settle in peacefully.
Right. They attack the stockade in one of the most intense scenes in the book.
It's a fierce battle, with casualties on both sides.
It really is, and it shows just how resourceful and courageous the loyal men are in the face of danger.
Facing overwhelming odds, but holding their ground.
They are, but meanwhile, we have to remember that Jim is still out there on his own, having escaped before the mutiny even broke out.
Alone with only his wits and whatever he can scavenge to survive.
Exactly. And it's under cover of darkness that he makes a remarkable discovery.
Ah, yes, the coracle.
The coracle. He finds this small, homemade boat hidden away in Ben Gunn's secret hideout.
You know, for our listeners who might not know, a coracle is a small, lightweight boat often used for fishing and navigating shallow waters.
Thanks for clarifying that. It might seem like a flimsy vessel, but for Jim, it represents freedom and a chance to take control.
It's his lifeline in a way.
It is, and he sets off in this tiny boat, facing rough seas and intense thirst.
You really get a sense of his determination, even though he's just a boy.
You do. It's a real test of his courage and resilience.
And then, amidst the vastness of the sea, he spots it, the Hispaniola.
Can you imagine seeing your ship after thinking you were all alone? Must have been a huge relief.
At first, perhaps, but there's something amiss.
Right. The ship is sailing erratically, with no one at the helm.
A ghost ship.
It's a chilling sight, and I think it really underscores the uncertainty and danger of this situation.
Anything could have happened.
Exactly. And yet, what does Jim do? He decides to board the ship.
Brave, but reckless.
It is risky, but he's not just reacting anymore. He's actively seeking to understand what's going on.
And that leads to a rather tense encounter.
It does. He finds himself face to face with Israel Hands, one of Silver's most trusted men.
Trapped on a seemingly deserted ship, both injured.
The tension must have been palpable.
It's like a psychological thriller within this grand pirate adventure.
It is. They engage in this struggle, and ultimately Hands is killed, but not before accidentally wounding Jim.
Adding injury to insult.
Right. But Jim manages to take control of the ship. Now he has to find a way back to the stockade and warn his friends about Silver's plans.
A daunting task, to say the least.
It is, and in a moment of sheer audacity, he decides to confront the mutineers directly.
He goes ashore and reveals that he knows everything.
It's a risky gamble, but Jim's learned a lot about these men.
He senses the cracks in their loyalty to Silver.
Exactly, and he plays on those doubts, offering to be their witness in court if they turn against Silver.
Quite a clever tactic for a young boy.
It is, and it works. The mutineers begin to question Silver's leadership, and their unity starts to crumble.
Just when things couldn't get any more chaotic, Dr. Livesey reappears.
Right. Out of the blue, he returns to the stockade and has this very cryptic conversation with Silver.
Leaving everyone, including the reader, wondering what's really going on.
Exactly. It's a brilliant twist, and it sets the stage for the final act of this thrilling tale. Welcome back to our deep dive into Treasure Island. Last we left off, Dr. Livesey had just made his surprise return to the stockade and had that super cryptic conversation with Long John Silver.
A lot of loose ends to tie up.
There are, so let's get right to it. What happens with the treasure hunt? Do the pirates actually find Captain Flint's buried loot?
Well, they set off with Silver at the helm still, following the clues on that map, and they eventually find Flint's skeleton.
Spooky.
Yeah, kind of gives you the chills, but the skeleton seems to point them in the right direction.
So they're getting close.
They think so, but when they finally dig where the treasure should be, it's gone.
Wait, what? Seriously, they went through all that trouble and the treasure's just gone.
Poof. Vanished. It's a huge letdown for them and really shows how their greed was leading them on a wild goose chase.
So who got the treasure then? Don't leave me hanging.
Well, remember Ben Gunn, the marooned pirate Jim befriended.
Oh yeah, I was wondering when he'd pop back up.
Turns out he, along with the doctor and Squire Trelawney, had already found the treasure.
Wow, sneaky. So they were one step ahead the whole time?
Exactly. They'd moved it to a secret location, leaving the pirates with nothing but an empty hole.
That's amazing. What a twist. But what about Silver? What happens to him and the rest of the mutineers?
Well, Silver's in hot water now. The other mutineers are ready to throw him overboard.
I bet they're furious.
They are. They blame him for leading them on this wild goose chase and think he double-crossed them.
Can you blame them?
Not really, but Jim, being the kind soul he is, actually steps in to save Silver's life.
He does. After everything Silver's done.
It's pretty incredible. It really shows how much Jim's grown throughout this adventure.
He's gone from a scared boy to this quick-thinking, compassionate young man.
He has. And despite the danger and betrayal he's faced, he still chooses to do what's right.
It's inspiring. So do they make it off the island? Do they escape with the treasure?
They do. They set sail on the Hispaniola, leaving the remaining mutineers stranded on Treasure Island.
Talk about poetic justice.
It is. You can almost picture them begging for mercy as the ship sails away.
And serves as a reminder that a life of greed and betrayal doesn't usually end well.
Definitely. But in the end, the loyal men, along with the treasure, are homeward bound.
What a journey. We've covered mutiny, murder, buried treasure, marooned pirates, and so much more.
It's no wonder Treasure Island has captivated readers for centuries.
It's a story with so many layers, and each character is so well developed.
And of course, there's Jim Hawkins, our hero, whose transformation throughout the story is truly remarkable.
He really embodies the spirit of adventure, resilience, and doing the right thing even when it's hard.
It's a story that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
It does, and it makes you think about the treasures we seek in our own lives.
And the paths we choose to take to find them.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this incredible deep dive into Treasure Island. I hope our listeners enjoyed the voyage as much as I did.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, fair winds and following seas, mateys.